What is up, everyone? It is your boy Bubba with my other boy Anna. And tonight's episode, we have a very, very special guest tonight. KSI Deadmeat 7, KSI Global Original Creators, and Hall of Famer for tonight's episode. What is up, everyone? What's going on? Anna, Deadmeat, what's happening? What's cooking?
Hey, hey, guys, what's up?
Yeah, how's it going? I honestly, going into this week, Bubba, I did not think that we'd be, when we were teasing the special guest and everything like that, you couldn't have told me last week that we were actually getting Dead Meat in here.
Yeah,
It's a surprise to both of us. So, Dead Meat, I appreciate you popping up when you did, because it was funny. We were teasing it all last week about, like, the special guest, and I think you even blew our expectations out of the water. So, thanks for coming on.
Good. I'm glad to help. Love what's become KSI. Absolutely love it.
It's definitely an honor, man. It's definitely an honor. I don't really know of you much, but tonight I am ready and I want to hear all about it from how did KSI, originally get, the name KSI.
Yeah, we'd love to hear
Oh,
the
yeah.
story about, like, how that came to be.
Oh, yeah. It started Healing Services Incorporated. Then it went to Knowledge, Strength, and Integrity. I'm not for sure what it is now. The community basis was started back in 2002 in Unreal Championship on a server named Killing Services 7. And that's where we found the first 7 members. We had an idea behind a community.
Oh,
Do you remember who those 7 people were?
We'll go with Billy. Everybody knows Billy. KSI, not a 7. KSI Loxley. A lot of people never met him. KSI Whiteley. KSI Cyrus. Also known as Cyrus B. Blunted. I can't account for all 7 of them. It's been so long, fellas. So long.
Yeah, no, but that's interesting. That's like history, like in the making. That's how, KSI came along and about. And, what was the whole, like, a background in terms of, like, what made you guys think, you know what, let's start a community and, from a competitive team to a big size, all community. What was the process? What was like going through all your heads and everything?
Recruiting. We had the idea to make it be something that everybody wanted to be in. It was to help even the new players figure out where they needed to go in the game so that they could help more people. It was about recruiting to recruit more people to educate everybody on how to play better together. And I think it worked. I mean, there was a lot of clans out there at the time that were not helping. That they made it very difficult. And in the Xbox community, clans were almost non-existent at the time.
Oh wow, that's insane.
That's super interesting. I mean, like, what were some of those early challenges you guys are facing? Because, like, I know right now, I'm not sure if you're aware, Deadmeat, about, like, kind of the stage KSI was in a couple of months ago when we were down below 100 members. And, I mean, from your stance, you've seen us at the absolute biggest. I mean, I know people have talked about being, like, 1,000 plus. It's crazy to think about the difference between when you were around to where we were now. So we're kind of in that same situation of, like, while we're not recreating the community by any means, we're still basing ourselves on the same foundation. A lot of the challenges that I feel like you probably faced then are still some things that we're facing now. So we're just kind of curious if there was any early challenges you guys had.
The earlier challenges still face us now are the people that from within in the clan or the community, and they leave and they take board members with them. It's always been our downfall, but that's where our numbers are there with the loyal members that bring them to us. I mean, if they leave and they take another community with them, they still started somewhere. Whether or not they want to admit it, they still started within KSI and took that name somewhere else. Whether or not they are still KSI.
Yeah, no,
They still started there.
definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to see how everybody, like, it seems like all these other big orgs that are out there. I mean, there's at least one upper leader that started here. I can't think of a single org that is around that doesn't have a former KSI member up in a high leadership or creator position. So
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
always been
It
a thing.
all started. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, it just so much history, like from now to here, same under the same foundation, and it's just still going on and on, But that's awesome, man. So tell us, like, what was like when you were in your prime and everything, what was your hard challenges or even success? Like, if you were like running a division or a squad at the time, what was,
They were always the big choices, whether or not to keep a player or to let him go. Even if you were to suspect something, you had to make a choice. It was for the clan, it was for the community. Um, Lost a lot of friends. There was times where I got brought into rooms with modders and hackers. I felt like a little kid being touched in the wrong places. Uh, yeah, those things happen. There's a lot of crazy people out there.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like obviously in those early stages of Xbox, it kind of was like a Wild West. I mean, everybody jokes about like the old school Call of Duty lobbies and the way people were back then. I mean, I could only imagine the amount of like what you're describing, like the hackers or modders or things like out there. I mean, any success that KSI ever had, like, has always been under scrutiny in some sense. So I could only imagine in those early stages how fragile the community was and things like that. So I could only imagine from your sense being a creator.
Yeah, there's a there's a lot of players out there. There's some that I question are even still around today.
I mean, going off that, I mean, is there any notable leaders that you remember from your time that like maybe don't get the recognition that they deserve? Because obviously we've got like the KSI Hall of Fame and like different things to honor. I mean, like even with the
As far,
seven.
I know everybody throws out the sevens and the creators. Um, the the creator that doesn't get a lot of mention and nobody really noticed him when he was there was Locksta, KSI Locksta. He recruited so many members into the beginning of KSI that nobody really noticed him after he was gone, and he was one of the originals. Um,
Yeah, that's great. And you know what's funny is I've been around in the community myself now for 12 years. And like you bringing this up now is the first time that I've even heard of it. I mean, way back in the day, there was like part of the recruiting process when I joined in 2011 is that we had to have the like code of conduct memorized and things like that. But we also had to know like we always were told it was three creators, and it was yourself, Nadas, and Cyrus. So the fact that like all of a sudden I don't know where we lost the other members along the way.
no, it is very true. The main members that brought us up was Cyrus, Nodis, and Billy himself. With the other seven, that's even where the number seven comes from. It don't only come from my name. That was the Killing Service 7 gamer tag, but it came from the seven members that was created under the original tags, and it lost meaning over the time because people wanted to use the seven like a Nike sign. It looks cool, but that's what it meant as a number. It was meant for every leader that started as the original seven.
So I guess from that sense, like I mean that's an interesting conversation right there to talk about. I mean obviously at this point, I mean you've been in the Discord server for a little bit now and I've seen like that hall of sevens to see all the people that have accomplished something like that. I mean from your sense as a creator, like what does the seven today mean to you? Or is it something that you're still learning?
That's something I'm still learning. The Everything's changed in KSI from where I left it. I think I left on and off between the years, and I've not really been a part of any kind of clan ops since 2009, 2010. So what you guys are required to do now is totally like you probably deserve that stuff. You know what I'm saying? The the stuff that we had to do, it was nothing like that. We went out there and we did the footwork. We had to recruit members. We had to talk to them. Nobody wanted to create a website. We eventually found some people. None of us knew that stuff. Billy know how to pay for it, I think.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that goes a long way.
Hey, it does.
And you know what's funny? I'll let Bubba talk about it a little bit too, but with you talking about like not knowing any like website stuff or web app stuff, it's kind of funny because the two of us, our primary focus has always been web apps for the two of us. So it's kind of interesting to see the dynamic there because I mean, I know Bubba would say the same. While clan ops is obviously extremely important, like we've invested a lot of time ourselves into the web stuff, so that's kind of cool to
Yeah,
hear.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole, like, I feel like now, like, back then, you guys didn't have like technology then, or like even Discord, you know. Now it's like we have Discord, we have the website, we have the forums, well, you guys had the forums, but it was just so much in like the generation as time goes on. Like we got more and more and more tools, you know, to do the jobs that you guys had to do. Like you were mentioning before, you had to write down like all of the members in your like squad or like division or anything, everything to like keep track of them. Now we have the Discord and like the CMS. So it's much easier for us to track members and who leaves or not because there's records in this. But you got had to like fish for like, oh man, my numbers don't match. Like I have 103 people on my sheet, but I have only 98 on my squad tag or my chat or whatever. So it's a big difference in the aspects just alone with the web ops and technology side of things. And I'm sure if you guys had, this, what we have now back then, you guys probably would have tripled or, quadrupled the amount of numbers.
Yes, very true. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. A question to go along with this that I can throw out there is at what point, like when you were going along with like the beginning of the community, I mean, obviously I know you were around for when KSI was at its absolute largest. Like, is there a moment or like a memory you have of like actually the shit's actually getting super serious? Like it's not just the seven of you hanging out anymore. Like this is actually becoming something much larger. Because obviously KSI wouldn't have been around 20 years later if you guys didn't do something right.
After the first 2 years or 3 years, because what I say, I made it to about 2008. So there was 6, 7 years that I devoted my time to it. Um, After the first 2 or 3, we had recruited enough people that things started to mobilize themselves. Um, we were able to make our ranking system more. Um, we did it under the army efficiency of sergeants, lieutenants, um, privates, and so forth. And then when Halo 2 came out, that introduced a lot more clan ops, chat rooms, and other things. But up until yeah, those games came out, we had a lot of trouble just holding lobbies just to talk with other members to make sure we were on the same page. You know what I'm saying? Like the same thing you were saying, our numbers didn't match. Exactly. It was hard to keep track of everybody.
No, I can only imagine. Going along with that, so I know, and this is me kind of just trying to piece together stuff that I know about my KSI history, like especially around this time. With the MLG influence of KSI, I mean, were you going to any of these like these LAN events or any sponsored events like that?
No,
No, you personally weren't.
no, I would not. The people that deserved to go, those were the ones that I made sure they went. I didn't take part in any of that. All that
No.
money or anything got funneled always back into the site. Well, was it supposed to? I'll say that.
Oh,
Oh God.
I mean, that's a story and a half we can avoid there. No, because I'll send it to you after we record this. There's a picture. I forget which member sent it to us on Facebook. Of a circa like 2006 photo of a LAN event, and it's so cool seeing like some of these early members because like Bill's there and like a bunch of members that I actually don't know the names of. but it's really cool just to see everybody in like their like KSI gear and being like around, you know, being together like that. I mean, I know that's something that like members now even still talk about trying to meet up and things like that. I know there's a meetup that people are talking about coming up in like Indianapolis, but like seeing like KSI represented that way, like beyond just the Xbox or now PlayStation or whatever it ends up being, like that's so like such a cool experience. Like I know you said you weren't a part of it necessarily, but I mean you can't help but grin looking at some of that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to when I see that. Every time I'm in a game of PUBG, I sit there and I die by a KSI member that's a private or something. I get a kick out of it. I'm like, well, there you go.
That's funny. Oh man.
I deserve to go down that time, I guess.
Oh, oh man, no, that's super awesome. I guess I know we're going off the script now at this point, so I'm totally understanding if you're not going to be able to have stuff off the top of your head. But like looking at like, is there any favorite memory or anything that you have that you want to share, like a cool story or something where it's like, wow, this is like something that whenever I think of my time in KSI, this is what I think of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a very good story I got for you. Me and one of the original me and one of the original members, Rat Daddy, uh, Captain Chronic. He was a part of the original seven. It's KSI Captain Chronic. But me and him, we were playing the game. I believe it was Soldier of Fortune 2 or something like that. It was a shooter 4v4, but straight deathmatch. It just looked down one side and versus the other side. We were playing free for all, and we had our mics open chat. So we were just sitting in the bedroom, both of us, talking to each other, playing a game. Like, hey, there's somebody coming. Quiet. And we lit him up. That was the funnest time I ever had with just another player, just me and him sitting back and enjoying the time. Whether or not it's a free for all or a team deathmatch, we were still having a blast.
That's so awesome. I mean, that's a cool story to share because I think that's sometimes what people forget about the community aspect of KSI is at the end of the day, I mean, we're just gamers hanging out. I mean, that's really what it is. Like, there's obviously a lot of like leadership roles and things like that that people kind of take on as an extra thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's funny that, the creator himself, like, I'm not sure what I expected your story to be, but, for it being focused on like, hey, you're just remembering like a gaming moment. That's so interesting that like, I know a lot of these leaders are now all about like all these meetings and hanging out in VCs and just like.
Yes. But my time in the KSI was different. It was I brought it up the way it was supposed to be brought up, and then when the members took over, it it was going in the right direction, and it sees like the way I see it, it succeeded. It. I mean, we're doing great the way you guys are running it.
Yeah, no, and we wouldn't be here, if it wasn't for you guys starting it, making the foundation, making everything, squared away. And, as times go on, yeah, some other leaders and, people had different perspectives to look at things and adjusted things. But it really comes down to you and, JT and like the original sevens or like that area where like we're here because of you guys and me deeply. Thank you. Like, I wouldn't be here sitting with you or meeting Anna or anyone. It's great to know where I can just go online and feel like, hey, I got people to talk and chill and BS with. And like I said, it honestly started with you and the other six creators, and we're happy that you guys did it. Like, it's awesome.
No, absolutely. Um, yeah, no, like I mentioned to you going into this podcast, is that a lot of the leaders right now and like the people, I know again that you just recently joined back in the server as of this recording, but there's a lot of people that are very excited to meet you, and a lot of them have only been in the community for like about a year, maybe 2 years, or there's a lot of new faces popping up right now. So I mean, like looking at that, being somebody that's obviously as successful as you are running communities like this. Is there any advice that you could give like these up and coming people?
I don't really have no advice, no, because things have changed so much, but there's nothing wrong with the creativity of a name and a community in which somebody wants to start. When other people came to me and asked me about their community and their clan, I always tell them work with the other ones. Don't start outside the box and think that it's better to start it without them knowing. They might be able to help you. You never know.
No, I mean that's such good advice. I mean, like I mentioned before, I mean, there's so many things that we could learn from you, and we're excited to get the opportunity to like even get to interact with you. I know when Ray's Drake was first talking about like bringing you around and things like that, it seemed like one of those far fetched things. And me even talking to Ray's Drake, I think is always super cool. But like when he was talking about bringing you around and like you actually wanting to be just hanging out and like learning the new KSI, basically, I mean, that's a great opportunity for all of us to get you caught up to speed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing.
I mean,
Absolutely.
honestly, it's an
That's cool.
honor, and thank you so much for coming in and being our special guest for episode 4. And at this time, we're gonna wrap it up. But um, before we wrap it up, would you like to say anything else?
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And
No, we
thank
thank you for
you.
your time, man.
This is dead meat. That's it.
All right, all right, guys. Well, that's another episode on Global Talk Podcast. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time. But we are out.